Hi, and welcome to Piano Teaching Success Q&A. I'm Gillian Erskine, and together with my colleague Paul Myatt, we've created this program for piano teachers around the world to inspire you, uplift you, and make your job just that little bit easier as we explore our passion for piano teaching. Well, before we get started, we've had heaps of questions in about when the studio will be opening, and I just want to take 5 seconds to let you know that we'll be launching the studio on the 17th of January. We're so excited because it's going to be a really fantastic way to kick off the year with lots of fresh ideas to get your students thriving and take the pressure off you. So you can join the waitlist by clicking the link in our show notes or heading over to the website at pianoteachingsuccess.com. Well, we're so excited to be here today with our special guest. If you're with us live today, we'd love to welcome you. So let us know in the chat where you're watching us from. So let me introduce our special guest today. It's Phillip Keveren, joins us from Nashville in Tennessee. Phillip is an internationally acclaimed composer and arranger. Amongst many of his accomplishments, Phillip co-authored the international best-selling Hal Leonard Student Piano Library series, which is famous. I'm sure many of us actually use that series with our students. And it's been translated into 6 languages, which I found absolutely fascinating. That's fantastic. What an achievement. Phillip has his own series as well, the Phillip Keveren series, which is full of beautifully arranged pieces, and more recently, some original compositions, which we're going to find out more about later in the program. Well, today we're going to get some great ideas to use in our studio this afternoon for stepping off into creativity from well-known repertoire. And who better to do that than with Phillip Keveren? Welcome, Phillip.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
That's good. Well, Phillip, you have a lovely studio where you write from. Can you show us around a little bit so we can have a sneak peek?
Sure. I'm sitting at, I guess, my home writing base, which would be, computer and digital piano. This is where I do most of my work from.
Big screen.
Yeah. And then when I'm ready to actually test a piano arrangement, then I'm going to go over here and sit at the acoustic grand, see if I can get a good.
And we got a little crab on the end.
Oh, yes. Sebastian is always sitting there.
Is he a souvenir from when your children were little, or when you wrote some arrangements for The Little Mermaid?
Well, yeah, it seems that Little Mermaid was kind of one of the first things that captured our daughter Lindsay's imagination. And she got that for me when she was a little girl. So okay. This is the space I work in. And then I have a little space next door here. When I want to take a nap, I just sneak through here.
Oh.
And I've got a sitting space here with TV and an exercise bike. So I can get a little steam off there, and a little coffee bar here for my clients. And
that's cool.
I find that I take more naps in there than I used to. A nap is a wonderful thing,
It's rejuvenating.
It is very rejuvenating.
And you've got those big things up in the corner. Can you tell, what are they?
Yeah, sound baffling. It really helps when, you could say that one there, and then back in the other corner, and then behind the computer area as well. It really keeps the grand piano in this size of space can be, especially with cement floors, a little boomy, a little echoey, and those baffles really keep the sound suppressed.
Is it a cement floor, or have you got wood on your floors?
It's cement, yeah, because I'm in a walk-in daylight basement.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm on the foundation.
Yeah. And you've got some lovely French doors that seem to go out there, but it's dark. We can't see that.
Yes, it is now dark on this side of the world.
Yeah. And we're just starting our day out over here in Australia. Oh, well, I'd like to welcome Cheryl from Bribie Island. She's in Australia, nearby where I am. And we've also got Nancy Modell from Springfield in New Jersey, in USA. That's lovely to have you, Nancy. And Burgmüller from Wollongong. That's sort of near Sydney in Australia. So that's really great. Don't be shy, people. We love to know where you're from because it's so nice to know that you're watching us live and you're with us. So Philip, I first met Philip and his beautiful wife Lisa last year at the Australasian Piano Pedagogy Conference in Brisbane, and we all had a great time together playing piano and singing one night around the piano. It was so much fun. It was good.
That was a great evening.
And I just loved your sessions at the conference for stepping into creativity from well-known pieces. So let's kick off the show with a question that we received from Denise McGee, who asked, how do you incorporate improvisation in traditional piano lesson? Well, Denise is in luck today, isn't she, Philip?
I think that, to me, the key always is building, whether it's improvisation or composition, either one of those creative activities. If you can pull the activities out of the repertoire you're teaching, then it doesn't feel like a separate activity. It becomes an extension of learning the repertoire, and it actually will help them learn the repertoire at a deeper level. Mm-hmm. And can be part of the prep of becoming really at home with that piece. So that's what we're going to do today on several different pieces, is kind of see what kind of activities that you might build around great outcomes.
So we don't necessarily have to wait till we've got mastery of the piece before we start improvising. We could just do that when we've got mastery of a particular section. Is that what you think?
Indeed. If you have an A section and you have the left hand serviceable, even at a slower tempo, where you're just still getting comfortable with that, at that point, while you're getting comfortable with that chord progression, you could be making up your own melody over top of that. So they feel like they're doing something fun with that chord progression that is,
also probably pushes them along a bit too. Pushes them along.
But they're actually getting that chord progression that much more rooted.
Secure. That's right. Yeah. Well, let's look at some of the ideas Philip shared with us using the Burgmüller Arabesque at APPC. We've got a little video to share.
With the Burgmüller, what I've been trying to do is use this music that we all teach and love and students relate to around the world as a kind of a launching pad for creative activities. And something like the Arabesque. Once a student owns this piece, physically, mentally, it's part of their musical experience. At that point, look at it and say, what things does this piece give me to create my own piece of music? It's always easier to start with what you know and move to what you don't know. If I ask you to compose something or improvise something and I just say, do whatever you want, it's very overwhelming. But this progression, there you have a really nice chord progression that I could create my own melody over. Sometimes, once they've learned a piece, it's hard to imagine any other melody with that accompaniment. So sometimes it's easier to just say, let's change the time signature, the feel of it, and then come up with a new melody. What could I do at the top? So now we can go. We even use a little bit of Burgmüller's own melody to drive it. So maybe the first assignment is just to create a new melody with that chord progression. Then I might look at it and say, what if I were to create a different B section for this piece? Rather than going to, like Burgmüller did, what if we just stayed in C major? And now let's go on a journey in C major. So I'm using the building blocks that Burgmüller gives me to build something new. Now, some students will leap right into this without any problem at all and be full of all kinds of ideas. Other times, it might even be very helpful to say, what ideas does he give me? Well, he has this. What if we used that idea for our A section? Maybe that's a starting point. You know, obviously, what things you can do with this go on forever. But the point is using this as a launch pad for creativity.
That's great, thank you. Well, before we go any further, I just want to welcome some more viewers today. We have with us is Jeanette from Brisbane and Helena from Central West New South Wales and Yotkin Kan from Singapore. Welcome, thank you for watching us live today. Well, Phillip, let's take this all a step further and explore even more ideas around arabesque.
Well, if you have access to an orchestral backing track, that can also be a real helpful tool. So I have the backing track here that you made available to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to start it. I'm not going to say a word. I'm just going to play a little bit of this and then talk about it after we've listened to it. Now, I was responding to it in the way that a student might. They listen for a little bit, and then they start having ideas. They have responses to it. They hear the flutes do something. It is drawing music out of them. Mm. Now, the most obvious way that this sort of track, can be used is to literally play the piano part along with it. And that's fun, of course. And that's how most people use these backing tracks. But what I'm saying is just let it play and let them experiment over the top of that using the A minor scale. And do we have access? Let's see, the handout that I prepared. Yes. Let's make that. And it's labeled repertoire activity. And in this case, the repertoire activity is playing the left hand in broken arpeggios rather than together. Mm-hmm. And what I would recommend is take the whole world and slow it down. And after they've had some fun with that backing track of just realizing that there are all kinds of things that can happen with that chord progression that are not the melody that Burgmüller wrote. Once they've got a handle on that, now let's imagine this being a nocturne instead. I'm just playing the simplest melody imaginable along with that. Now the B section, all I've done is put the first note. We're just blocking it out. That would be so helpful when they really get into learning this piece. Knowing where it starts and then taking this good and slow. So, we're creating an entirely different piece of music out of the same chord progression. They're getting practice with that, spelling out those chord patterns, but in a different way. Mm. Now, they could do that, what I just did there,
they could also do that with the backing track at the faster tempo too later.
Or slow it down. Do it at a slower tempo.
Right. Get it at the tempo that feels right to them. But what you're kind of doing is taking this Lego castle and taking it apart and putting it into different ways. Now, I'm going to move the bedroom over here and do that. You're not just starting with this gigantic pile of Legos and going, where am I going to move? I'm taking the castle and redesigning it. And Burgmüller has given us this marvelously well-constructed, perfect little piece of music. And in the process of learning it, we can also be getting creative.
Yes. And all of the Burgmüllers have got, pretty much all the ones I can think of anyway, they've all got that fabulous underlying chord structures to them.
Oh, he's pretty simple chord structures, you know. The beauty in his pieces are how artistically they are arranged, but the actual structure of them, quite simple.
And stick fairly much within 1, 4, 5, 7, 1 secondary sevens, that kind of thing, but they're not
pretty much
overly complicated.
I mean, that's why they've lasted for 200 years,
Yes.
however long it's been. You know, they're just, I know after 30 years of trying to do this, try to write simple pieces that are actually that simple, that are that.
Yeah. Yes. It's like decorating, minimalist decorating. You know, your house, it's the hardest thing. You think, oh, you don't have to put too much in with minimalist. No, it's about everything you leave out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, the Arabesque backing track is from Piano Teaching Success Practice Buddy, and the orchestra does sound so much better when it's not coming through Zoom. It's just...
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been having fun with that in my studio. It sounds fabulous. The samples are great. It's really very creative, beautiful.
Thank you. So we're going to give you special access to that backing track and to Philip's notes, so you can try out these ideas with your students at home. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Well, getting kids to practice is the bane of our existence as piano teachers, and we're about to do something about that in the studio. So here's Paul to tell you more.
In the Piano Teaching Success Studio, every month you'll receive a pack of teaching strategies for new pieces, which include whole body learning teaching techniques and how to use the Practice Buddy backing tracks to learn those pieces. Let me show you 2 examples of how easy it is to use the Practice Buddy. The first one is a beginner tutor piece called Caterpillar Crawl. You'll see the whole body learning strategies first, and then playing a fragment of the piece along with the track. Caterpillar crawl, creeping on the floor. Caterpillar crawl, down the hall and through the door. In the studio by Piano Teaching Success, you'll have access to hundreds of scales, technical work and pieces from beginner to late intermediate that you can use with your students straight away. And every month we'll be sharing a new pack of teaching strategies that come with backing tracks. Even for your older, more experienced students, you'll find that exploring interpretation from the very start of learning a new piece provides a more concrete auditory experience for abstract concepts. As teachers, we often address this at length. The Practice Buddy backing tracks offer a full orchestral or band experience for your students to help convey what words may sometimes escape. Here's a popular Bach prelude in C minor. Here, the cello line in the backing track really assists learning and understanding of the role of the left hand in this work. The Studio by Piano Teaching Success is nearly ready. We're just putting the finishing touches on it, and you'll be able to join the studio early next year. Our first intake for the studio will have limited places. If you'd like to be first to know, join the waiting list for the studio by Piano Teaching Success now.
Thanks, Paul. And I'd also like to welcome Maxine from Canberra, Christine from Noosa Heads in beautiful sunny Queensland, and Susan from New Zealand. Hi, Susan. And Annette from Melbourne. Thank you for being with us today. Well, Philip, let's look at some Kabalevsky. One of my faves is probably The Clown. We love it, don't we?
It's great.
Yeah. And I was playing through some of your pieces a couple of days ago, and I came across Lady Madonna. And I think I might have detected some Kabalevsky clown influences in that. Is that right?
You think? Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. That.
Can you play a little bit of that? Have you got
it? There's. Etc. So you can hear, of course, Lady Madonna has that. The major and the minor idea. So it's kind of a.
And the bass line has got that like 5-1, 4-6.
Yeah, same idea. Yeah.
So it's good, and that's from your class, the Beatles for classical piano. It's a piano solo series. It's about advanced, like grade 5, 4, 5, advanced level.
Yeah, upper, the level thing, of course, we'll get into all kinds of discussions about that, but late, early advanced, yeah.
Cool. So actually that book's available from blackrockmusic.com.au and blackrockmusic.co.uk. We'll put a link to the books in the show notes, but we've also got a Phillip Keveren sale in both of our stores, 20% off all Phillip Keveren books this weekend. So get yours. It's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So what ideas do you have us for the clown?
Well, referring to the repertoire activity sheet, on the second page there, you'll see a little example of taking this idea of major to minor, then and this particular one I've got written out just keeps moving on down the keyboard. Major and then minor. Finally. What I've done here is written out, you can see that in these 2-note phrases, it's just moving through the major to minor all the way. Now I chose several of them and strung them together, but what I might suggest is to experiment creating a little piece that goes back and forth between major and minor. Right now I've slowed it down into something like this, but it could be can you go around on the keyboard and create those patterns? And all of them are 1, 5, 3. So the 1 and the 5 in the left hand, the 3rd in the right hand, and then just lowering the 3rd. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly. And then it goes. This entire piece. Now, I don't know. I wasn't there when Kabalevsky wrote it. But I think he sat there and thought, I love the sound of that odd thing that happens when the major and the minor get crunched together like that and the parallel spacing. And he built a piece around it. So my suggestion is to explore that idea in myriad styles, myriad ways, and it suddenly makes the clown not look so strange. Because at first glance, really?
Yeah, sounds a bit weird.
Yeah. So we've taken what makes this piece fly and really focused on it.
That's right. And sometimes kids, when they hit some sort of atonal, dissonant type things, they don't like it. So it's sort of trying to help them normalize it. It's just because they're not exposed to it in their ears. So it's sort of helping normalize that, isn't it?
And in this particular case, if they were to learn the Lady Madonna arrangement simultaneously, they see that it's not that strange. The Beatles wrote a song out of that same idea, basically. Now, and there is an easier version of this too. There's an easy classical piano version that makes it much. Yeah, you can see them next to one another. The easier version. And then the other one, 16th notes and 8th notes, much more syncopated. But
you could almost leap from one version to the other almost. Start when.
You could, yeah, you could mix and match them. But you see how the easier version, by being in halftime, makes those rhythms look so much simpler.
Yes, yes. And that's your easy piano version, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So that's a very good example, actually, of showing the difference between a piano solo level book and an easy piano level book. It's
so easy piano for the UK and Australia would be grade 1 to grade 2, even sometimes up to grade 3. Easy piano isn't always that easy. It's easy piano.
Easy is a dangerous word, yes. I always say easy for who?
Yeah. So from an American, from your, it's probably intermediate. Would that be what you would say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the advanced is that step up to the more that grade 4, maybe grade 4 for that one, level piece. So, okay, that's lovely. We had a question in from Vanessa Munns from Beacon in Western Australia. That's kind of in the sticks for everybody. Sorry, Vanessa. She's like 3 hours from Perth or something like that.
Good place to be during an epidemic or a pandemic. Yeah.
They're still locked down though.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's all farming now. It's a wheat belt of Western Australia. Anyway, so she said, teaching composition is quite daunting for me. And I think it is for so many people, Vanessa, because we didn't learn that way. It wasn't a natural from a traditional piano lessons. It wasn't just usually a natural part of our lessons when we're growing up. So where do you start with beginners and how do you encourage the creative process with students without putting my own style in?
Well, I would say do put your own style in. I think that's great. They're getting, in their repertoire, they're getting all kinds of different viewpoints of style and genre. And you add another element to that with them. I think, though, that your question may be that, sometimes the line between what's right and what sounds right to you could be different. And so, but what I would say is that I would not worry about your style influencing them. Think about repertoire coaches that students are going to learn. They're going to that person to indeed absorb what it is that their viewpoint of the world is about the repertoire.
It's a bit like kids, isn't it? Like if you want to show them to do something, it's safe here. Well, yeah, I can play. Look, we can play. We can be like that. Just come in. The water's fine.
Yeah. Well, these activities that we've been doing with the clown and with Arabesque, we have been focusing on it exclusively. But imagine within the confines of a 30-minute lesson, that might have been a 3-minute experience of saying, picking one of those activities and using it to help develop the piece. And so you're working in a little blue sky into the experience without shutting down and going off onto a complete cul-de-sac.
And, in the beginning, it may not be a 3-minute thing because you've got to get them set up and get them into that whole creative kind of time mindset or time frame. And sometimes we think of that as we're wasting time, but we aren't, because it's the blue sky and the self-expression that music provides for us. And we say music fosters creativity, but this is what we mean. By taking the time to explore the creativity, because we give them these skills that they can explore music and make their own music for themselves. It's far more meaningful to them and more likely for them to take this on. I think we had Christopher Norton on last week, and he was saying this: the kids that explore and stuff like that are more likely to stay as playing as adults because
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that you talk about student retention. This is how you retain them. They take ownership in the process, and it's messy. They're not going to write perfect little pieces. They're going to do improvisations that don't quite add up. But from their viewpoint, they are. This is the stuff they'll remember.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's
more
like painting, isn't it, in preschool? Like every little painting in preschool wasn't a masterpiece,
Yeah, well, I have one over here that I could show you that my grandson brought me that I guarantee you is not a masterpiece, but I will be keeping it to the end of my days because it's his first foray into it, and I think the parents feel that way too.
And that's the same with these little cameos that the children bring back to us of the things that they do. They may not be perfect, but they're beautiful.
Yeah.
In their own ways. So it's about sort of, we're talking today about using repertoire as a step-off point, and we're going to do some more stepping-off points in a minute. But another way of also stepping off into creativity is to have chords and chord shapes and chord progressions as building blocks for creativity. So here's Paul with a little something to help you get started with chords.
Do you want to teach chords but don't know where to start? Because like many of us, you haven't learnt chords, so we don't know how to go about it. The best place to start is by learning chords 1 and 5/7, the two most important chords, in easy keys, and relate them to scales. So there is context and a connection to something that our students know about. But how do you do that and make it fun and interesting? Because scales and chords on their own can be fairly boring. The best way to overcome the boredom and monotony of scales and chords is to learn and practice with backing tracks. It's fun and it provides a musical context that sounds great and in itself is rewarding. And it uses technology which kids love. But will all scale backing tracks work? Unfortunately, no. You need backing tracks that have the correct harmony structure so that your students can play either scales or chords and it sounds correct. So we need a simple step-by-step approach. Well, Piano Fundamentals was designed to do just that. Piano Fundamentals starts with pentascales and chords 1 and 5/7. It comes with interactive, adjustable speed backing tracks, studio licensed sheet music, and flashcards, which really help to mix it up. You're going to love all the different backing tracks. There are 2 styles in every white key from C to A, and they're in major and minor, and they've been designed to play along with chords and scales. You'll know that teaching major and minor side by side helps students hear and feel the pattern of tonic, major and minor. After your students are comfortable with the pentascales, extend them into the 1-octave scales of C, F and G major and their relative minors A, D and E, which use 1 and 5/7 and introduce chord 4. Here's 7-year-old Julia, who can play a D minor scale and is now learning the chords. One of the things you're going to love about Piano Fundamentals is the flashcards. They get your students away from the music and into using their ears. You can start teaching chords right now because Piano Fundamentals is ready for you at pianoteachingsuccess.com.
And we've made it easy to purchase in up to 9 currencies of your choice. Get yours today.
Thanks, Paul. Well, it's coming up to Christmas, and you have a beautiful arrangement of the First Noel that we can also use as a stepping off point. Can you tell us about that?
I'm going to move over to the acoustic grand.
Okay.
Play this one.
You know, change the pace up.
Yeah. You know, I tell you, one thing I have found in arranging is that if I do the entire arrangement in the digital environment and then don't check it on the acoustic, you can get fooled, particularly in areas of sustain pedal. You don't know for certain. So I always want to come over and test it on the acoustic. But yeah, I'll play a little bit of the First Noel and then we'll talk about it. I'm going to end right there for now and just say that you'll note the left hand is playing these 1-5 patterns that are very simple and lilting. They set up the harmony in a very easy playable way. And you'll notice that after the melody was introduced in the first section, that when we got to measure 37, we were actually, I'm playing a written out improvisation. So this. So what I might suggest is that once a student learns this piece and has it under their hands, that they have license at that point to try their own idea about what that should sound like at measure 37. The left hand is giving us a very settled accompaniment, and then they can improvise. This particular book is called Piano Calm Christmas, and I very specifically wrote these arrangements to breathe. You'll notice that there's a lot of this kind of thing. Extra measure. Extra measure. And you know how a student is going to want to play this. I'm not going to sit there and let 6 beats go by. But I'm trying to really discipline yourself to take
space
and extend them out. That's where the calm comes from. Breathe and let it. So in a way, you're sort of writing rubato into the metric of the arrangement. I started writing these piano calm arrangements. I didn't know we were going to have a worldwide pandemic, but I think like a lot of us in the world, we're feeling like things are a little bit hectic, a little crazy, and I wanted to have a book that felt like almost an improvisation in the sense that there's just a lot of space in the arrangements, and where you could play them and relax and not be too taxed technically. After I did the first book, Piano Calm, then I ended up doing Piano Calm Christmas as well. But this particular arrangement of the First Noel is a really good starting point for improvisation, due to the fact that the left hand is very clear and repetitive.
Mm. And I can imagine so many, the sound is quite sophisticated. I'm sure pianists, all sorts of pianists, but particularly those adult pianists, even ourselves, you know, just to have that little bit of space to play.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can imagine adults really loving these, both of these books, because so many adults learn piano as a stress release. And because, you know, it's hard to think about anything else other than what you're doing at hand. But if they could then have the extra thing of playing music, that's quite relaxing as well. I can imagine it'd be really popular.
Well, you know, it's funny that we do things like go to a spa or all these things that people think of to relax. And when you go there, they're playing music like this.
Well, it's more annoying than this, really, usually.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, what's really stress reducing is to play and engage the mind in that process. And also to actually listen to yourself playing the piano. And that's where having space in the phrasing is, I think we really, really get into a habit of not listening to ourselves. We're so busy getting from measure to measure, beat to beat, note to note. And so that's where the intentionality came in these languid, long phrases.
They're almost meditative, actually, to you know, mindfulness sort of thing. Christine Mulhall wants to know, what level are these piano solo levels books?
You know, I think that they say piano solo on the cover, but in my mind, it's about the lower level of piano solo.
Yes, about grade 3.
Sometimes they get labeled piano solo because the overall result may sound somewhat sophisticated. But the technical aspect of it is quite more of an intermediate.
That's right, and it depends on how it's taught. I mean, that one actually has a lot of patterns in it. So if it's a total read play, you know, it's removing it all around the place. But if you go, actually, this is just like a fifth, and we got a sixth here and a fourth, whatever.
Well, right.
Patterns, you know.
And I will mention that this book, there's actually a third Calm book. It's called Piano Calm Prayer. And I have recorded all of those, and they're all on Spotify and Apple, all of those digital services. So if you can sit and listen to it and read the score, and that's quite helpful too, in just kind of getting your head around it.
Yes, because I must say, I was playing the First Noel the other day, and when you got a little tricky one where you hold on for an extra, or you don't actually have something on the first beat of the bar. I think it's about bar 8 or something. I was thinking, oh, where is that? Where's my note to ground me here? You know, okay, that was a little jolt.
Yeah, wake you up out of your meditation.
Thanks for that. Oh, well, with Christmas on our doorstep, it's time to get our students started on a few of these Christmas carols. And that Christmas Calm book, Piano Calm Christmas, is a perfect way to get started. And for your beginners, we often also want a quick learn from some of our students. So imagine how your students would feel if they can sound impressive as well when they play with a whole orchestra. Here's Paul to tell you more.
It's that time of the year again when we start getting ready for Christmas. So we're launching our Discovering Piano Christmas album with its selections of the world's most favourite Christmas carols, beautifully arranged for students of all abilities and ages. Arrangements from very easy piano to intermediate standard of all your favourite carols, including Joy to the World, O Christmas Tree, Silent Night, The First Noel, and of course the number 1 and 2 of the Christmas song hit list, Jingle Bells and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. This pack also includes everything you need to create the perfect Christmas student recital with invitations, Christmas carol lyrics book, and certificates. The Discovering Christmas album is great value for any piano teacher at just $25 US, 31 Aussie or £19. And it includes 16 studio licensed arrangements and backing tracks for all of those pieces. You can also get the Discovering Christmas album completely free with the purchase of a Practice Buddy teacher pack this month. The teacher pack includes 5 grades or levels of your favourite examination board: ABRSM, AMEB Comprehensive and Piano for Leisure, ANSCA, Royal Conservatory, or Trinity College London. And this month your teacher pack includes a free student pass and the Discovering Christmas album. You can get your Discovering Christmas album or Practice Buddy teacher pack from Piano Teaching Success or Black Rock Music. You can even pay in the currency of your choice. Get yours today and make Christmas a huge success in your studio.
Thanks, Paul.
Well, we were talking about levels before, and I've ducked and got my personal Phillip Keveren collection.
And I just wanted to show everyone, it's really, you've done a really clever thing here, because
In the books. Oh, you can't see because I've got a green screen. This is actually green.
that's called beginning piano solo. So that's the beginning level,
Which is very, very simple, if you can see that.
and then we've got easy piano. So I've got, what can I got in here? So we've got
Things like this one, got Tamamera.
Yeah.
And which we were talking before. That's got the purple.
Oh yeah, purple works. Okay, so it's got the purple tag on the top.
And then the piano solo ones
Have got a red tag on them. So they're your more advanced ones.
So that just makes that very super easy to see.
And then you've also got, so that's your kind of piano solo level.
And then you've also got in this piano solo one, you've got the suite. They're a little bit harder.
The suite books those are for your best students and for you when you're trying to, show what you can do.
Yes, and we've actually got you're going to play us out to A Whole New World later on. So
Yes, I had to practice.
I love that one. It's just got so many different meters. We're changing between 5/4 and all that kind of stuff. It's really good. It's got some flashy little runs in there as well. And it's a good piece because it's got sort of one that you could play at your own recital. Not too hard to learn, but that'd be a real parent pleaser. So yeah, and I think you made a point. I've heard you speak about this before, that parents don't necessarily at a recital want to hear you play, the Rachmaninoff whatever. They actually they quite often just want to hear something they know, right?
Yeah, they want to hear you play something beautiful.
Yeah.
That's I think you can oversell yourself.
I think so. And it's so stressful as well.
Exactly.
Trying to be on your best game. So, okay, we've got another piece and one more piece, which is the Johann's music box. And this is from one of your classical folk.
No, this is in Piano Calm.
Oh, right, Piano Calm. Okay.
Yep, it is.
And so it's got some classical influences in it. So Philip's going to play it, and you're going to tell us what piece kind of has influenced this one. Put it in the chat. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
I'm sure that you're picking up on the
We've got it. I've got it.
Canon.
Canon in D by Parker Bell.
Indeed. So this piece is an original piece, original in the sense that the eventually we arrive at this, which is an original theme, a music box style theme, but built on the top of that trusty Pachelbel canon chord progression. And I wanted to include this piece in the piano calm book because sometimes playing something that is grounded in something that we remember is that's a really interesting experience for a student.
Sort of like chicken soup, it's familiar.
Yeah, it's right. It is a little bit of a comfort music.
Yes.
And that chord progression, I don't know what it is about it, but it is just so. I guess somebody had to write it, and he wrote it, but it's perfect.
Yeah. So what kind of things would you do with that? You'd get them, perhaps the children, your students, to play that left hand, and then would you give them a note range to say, go for it? Or what would you suggest?
The Johann's music box is, I'm not certain that I would do much in the way of improvisation or composition building off of it specifically, but I would use it as an example of a piece that came from, and then I would dig out the canon in D, find an arrangement that they can play, and kind of go in reverse. You learn Johann's music box, go back and learn the canon in D, and realize, oh, you made a piece that was built out of that. So what might I do with that same?
And also, what did you do with it?
Yeah, compare the two. Right. It's kind of like getting, Mozart's variations on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and knowing that Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is where he started. Go through and look at all those, and it's a composition lesson. Just seeing what he did with it, and so this is like a real watered down version of that.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, thank you for these fabulous ideas. I hope everyone has been totally inspired to take these thoughts and these ideas and this framework and apply it to this, your lessons, and take the time to help your kids get started and kick off onto creativity, because it's the thing that will really give them a quick kick and keep them interested. And as you say, it's one of the best things you can do for retention. Thank you, Phillip. Well, that's all we have time for today, and I'd like to thank Phillip Keveren for being with us. We're going to be back in 2 weeks' time with another great episode of Q&A. Our special guest will be international best-selling composer Pam Wedgewood, who you'll know from her Jazzing About and Upgrade series and others. Alison Mathews is a teacher-composer who has many works in the ABRSM and Trinity College exam syllabuses. And Ruth Alberici, who's going to tell us all about a new Teachers Pay Teachers site. So you may have guessed it, it will be a UK edition, so you can join us live and watch your inbox for details, but it will be Wednesday Australian time, 8 p.m. at night time. And I think that's going to be, I don't know, with daylight saving stopping and starting everywhere. I think it's going to be, who can tell what time it's going to be? I think it's UK time at about 9 a.m. So sorry to our US visitors, you're going to be asleep, but you can, don't worry, catch us on our watch list. You can join our watch list, and you can receive that episode straight into your inbox, or you can catch the replay on our Facebook group, Piano Teaching Success. In the meantime, there's 3 ways you can send us questions or ideas for topics. You can send us an email, post it in our Facebook group, or ask a question from our website at pianoteachingsuccess.com. Well, I'd like to thank Paul Myatt, who's been producing today's show and is responsible for all the videos and behind-the-scenes tech. We're going to go out today to the music of Phillip Keveren playing his beautiful arrangement of A Whole New World from his album More Disney Songs for Classical Piano, which is available from blackrockmusic.com.au and blackrockmusic.co.uk. On behalf of all of us, stay well, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.